See, typically, like I'll come up with conditional rendering example also, but before that, I want to talk about some concepts here. So what are those? Like we call this as virtual DOM and real DOM over there. In case if you are attending the interviews, you may face this question, say, what is virtual DOM, what is real DOM in React.js, and what is JSX and all those stuff. Okay. So what is virtual DOM? React.js, right? Okay, now what I'm going to do here, like let me explain this, FJ. Whatever you have written in the line number 14 to 18, this is all virtual DOM. Whatever is rendering it onto the browser, everything is considered as DOM. Okay, then what is the difference between HTML and DOM? Right. See, what is this? Whatever you see here, right? This is all called as HTML. What is a DOM? Object model of this HTML is considered as DOM. That is why it's called document object model. Means what happens? All this document now, this will be converted as a what you call div tag, div element, div object, and again this will be converted as an image object. This will be converted as a button object. So everything will be converted as an object in the background. So that whenever you want to update or do something, it's all happen via object model. Okay, that's what is DOM. DOM means document object model. What is document object model? Object version of HTML. Otherwise, if you see input type text, div, all of them are nothing but strings. But when they are loaded into the memory, they will be converted as an objects like div object, text box object, like that. So what is a text box object? Is nothing but property, like the way you have an employee object, right, which has name, age, and salary, right? Similarly, div object will have ID, title, content, inner HTML, and all those things. That's what is called as DOM. Now, what I'm trying to say by virtual DOM is when you are trying to work with React.js, any content you trying to render in the return statement. No, this is what I call it as HTML that I want to render into the browser, right? This is considered as virtual DOM. What do you mean by virtual DOM? React.js will never allow you to modify the actual DOM. What is an actual DOM? Which is rendered into the browser. React.js will not allow to modify the DOM that is rendered into the browser. What it will do internally, it has a copy of the real DOM into the copy of the real DOM, and that is where, like when you try to go and click on a button, if you see here, when you are clicking on a button, when you are trying to go and change the status as when you are trying to display, no, all of this is happening in a virtual DOM. What internally React.js will do, it will keep comparing the difference between the virtual DOM and real DOM here. Now, if you see here, now in the virtual DOM, if you see, there is 4 blue dots and there is 2 yellow dots. And whereas in the real DOM, it has only 5 dots. Means what it indicates, in the virtual DOM, there are some extra node, like there is something has been modified. What React will do, other than React, any other frameworks, no, if there is a change in the virtual DOM, it will go and try to repaint the complete real DOM. It is going to repaint the complete real DOM. Whereas in React.js, it is going to repaint only the delta portion of that. It is going to repaint only the delta portion of that. Means it is going to repaint what exactly you are trying to see here. It is going to repaint only this portion to the actual thing over here. Okay. So now with that, what I'm trying to say is, you as a developer, do you need to really worry about whether I'm trying to do on a virtual DOM or whether you're trying to do on a real DOM? From your side, there is no need for you to worry about whether you are trying to do on a virtual DOM or real DOM. You as an end user, or a developer, you can safely assume that you are working on the actual DOM and you don't have to worry about how React is taking care of modify, like React is taking care of updating the real DOM based upon the virtual DOM. So you as a developer, you will be working on the virtual DOM, but you don't have to differentiate the virtual DOM from a real DOM because everything is same. From a developer point, you don't have to establish any differences over there. Okay. So now that's the reason, if you see here, if you see this use state object, whenever you say on click, if it is on click, this is considered as HTML event. But on this here, I'm not saying on click. I'm trying to say it as on click. This is not the HTML object. This is called a synthetic event. If it is a on click, we call it as a HTML event. But this is not on click. This is on click. That's what we are going to use the we are using the camel case here. We are using the camel case. This is on click. This is a synthetic event. Okay. What is synthetic event? It's a React.js event. This React.js event internally goes and finds the actual event. You as end user, do you need to worry about that? No, you don't have to worry about those things there. Now, whatever the elements you are trying to render here also, no, though it looks like H1 button, still they are virtual DOM elements, not the real DOM elements. Internally, React.js is going to take care of converting these virtual DOM elements to the real DOM elements. It's the responsibility of React.js. Long story short, whatever you are going to work is on a virtual DOM and internally React care of 10 to do. So again, with that saying, don't scratch your head too much and hey, Ajay sir is telling virtual DOM, real DOM, what is this? What is that? See, this is for only what is happening in the backend logic. You as a developer, you don't have to difference between the virtual DOM and real DOM. The way you do your DOM normal HTML development, right? You should be able to do the same thing. You don't have to differentiate over there. Now I'll explain what is JSX actually here. Okay. See, now whatever you are trying to keep in the written statement, right? Whatever we are trying to keep in the written statement, this is not actual DOM or this is not even the HTML, not even the HTML. It is called as JSX. What do you mean by JSX? JavaScript XML. JSX stands for JavaScript XML. Okay. Okay, we can go here. So what I mean, what exactly I want to highlight here, whenever you are trying to write like JavaScript XML means it's a XML document, not the HTML document. Whatever you are trying to keep is a XML document, not an HTML document. So let me go and try to create one simple employee XML. Let's see if we get some, yeah, how an employee XML document will look like. So again, these are all for your informational purpose. Okay, you don't have to worry about it because you may face some questions in the interview. That's the reason I'm explaining all these things. Otherwise, you as a developer, you don't have to differentiate whether I'm doing on JSX, whether I'm doing on HTML, whether I'm doing on a virtual DOM or real DOM. You don't have to worry about any of those things here. Now, are you able to see this? This is a employee XML. What is this employee XML? Let me go and try to create this here. So here, this is my employee XML. So what is an XML? It is going to contain the object data in a string format. So now if you see here, what exactly is it? It has an employee object. This contains the employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, everything. It's a it's a representation. Like if you want to store any data in the string format, or if you want to store the data in the database, for example, if you want to store the data in database, right? An object, an object cannot be stored into the database. Like what do you mean by object? So this is an object. Employee is an object here. This object cannot be stored into the database as it is. What exactly we need to do? We need to convert that object to the either XML or JSON. We'll talk about what is a JSON later. Either it has to be converted to the XML or JSON. So then only you should be able to store into the database. That's called a string representation. Even when you want to exchange the data from front end to back end or back end to the front end, you will be never able to exchange the data in form of objects. all the data exchange will happen in the form of strings only. It never happens in the form of objects. So then if I take this employee XML, this is an XML here. Same way, when I say JavaScript XML, like what exactly, let's go and try to see this here, right? When I say JavaScript XML, okay, now let me go and try to create use .xml. Whatever you see here, right? It is exactly now XML here. What is an XML here? So the way I try to correlate with these two things, okay? Now if you see here, this is user XML, right? So whatever you are seeing on the left-hand side is nothing but an XML. So it has a H1 element and it has some data inside that. It has another H1 element. It has data inside that. It has button element. Again, it has XML. So here also you can have employee ID. You can have the attributes also here. Okay. So the way you have whatever you see on the right-hand side and left-hand side, right? The way right-hand side is an XML document, even your left-hand side is also nothing but an XML document. That's why this is called as JSX. Whatever you see here, no, it is called as JSX, means JavaScript in XML format, XML document. That is what is meant by JSX. Okay. How this is converted to the HTML, I'm going to explain it, how this XML document. Now, at this moment, it is not the HTML document. This is an XML document. Now, how this is going to convert to the HTML, I'm going to explain. When I say JSX in anywhere in the React, this is also probably your interview question. So when you say JSX, JavaScript XML, that is nothing but whatever you're trying to return in the things. This is nothing but the JavaScript and XML, typically called as JSX, JSX, JSX. So what we try to do now, so what I try to do now is I will try how to convert this XML because finally what I want to render into the browser, I want to render the HTML document. Why? Because I don't want to render this XML document. Then let's see how to convert this XML document to the HTML document. So what exactly happens in the backend was, let me try to give this XML document here. Now if you see, are you able to see the right hand side here? So what exactly is going to happen? Let me go and try to keep it for your reference. Okay. Now you see this XML document finally converted as a HTML document here. So what is the HTML document? You are trying to create a fragment and inside that you are trying to create a H1 tag. To that H1 tag, you are putting the username, user is. Again, you are trying to create the button tag. And then to that, you are trying to see, if you see you have a on-click event, then children, like that. So what exactly it will do is, finally, whatever the XML document you have given, right, it is converted to the JavaScript. This is internally generates the HTML document for this is the one which actually generates the actual HTML element for us. Okay, that is what it is going to do that. So now if you see, when I try to declare an element like H1 hello world, what exactly it is going to do? It's as good as you are trying to say react.create element H1 tag with the text as hello world. Are you able to see this? So this is what you are writing to write in the JSX. This is considered as JSX. What React will internally do, this will convert this JSX to JavaScript here. And this JavaScript is the one which is actually generating the HTML for you. This is for your informational purpose, like how to differentiate between the what is JSX and what is that. Now, with all these things said, sir, do we need to really worry about what is JSX, what is virtual DOM? Don't worry at all. The way you do your HTML development, right? The way you try to attach an event, the way you try to do those things, no? Do exactly the same way. No need to do any extra differences for that. Then you may ask why you're explaining all these things if I don't have to worry about JSX and all. Just for your interview purpose. In interview, you may face these questions. Oh, I'm working on JSX, I'm working on virtual DOM. So from your side, no, you are working on the real DOM, you are working on the standard HTML. You don't have to scratch your head for whether you are working on JSX, what is the containing and all those stuff. So let me ask ChatGPT if that can help me out there. So let me ask ChatGPT. I'm going to talk about this artificial intelligence and all these tools once you are comfortable with those things. So how can we increase our productivity 10x by using this AI tools here? You can see convert this to JavaScript. Yeah, now are you able to see this? So this JSX, what internally is going to do this? You see here, this is what this whatever the JSX we have given, right? This is how it is internally create React element. What do you mean by fragment? So this is that considered as fragment. Then again inside that we are creating H1 element. Then this is the text that we are giving to the H1 element. And again inside this React element we are creating the like fragment. We are creating the element H1 with those things. Again we are trying to create an element button. We have on click here. No one is going to teach this outside to this deep level over there. They'll go and tell that okay yes, let's go and talk about very high level. That's the reason they're able to finish the course in 1 month and they're able to charge very less. Okay. But my intention was you should have a strong details of those things over there. Okay. Can you show me on how this is converted to HTML? So now I'm asking like, okay, so now it is just above with above example, it is just going to show you how this is going to actually render the HTML structure over here. Finally, again, what I'm trying to do, this is the JSX and this is how it is converted to the JavaScript. That's the reason no, you are not actually rendering the HTML, you are rendering the JavaScript. This JavaScript is finally rendered, converted to this HTML structure. This is all for your informational purpose. From now onwards, you don't have to worry about whether you are trying to do one virtual DOM or not. Okay, fine. So now next, what exactly we are going to do? So I'm going to, yeah, this is the JSX I'm talking about here. So JavaScript and XML, we talked about, yeah, in the event handling. So whenever we are trying to name an event, we are going to use the camel case. That's important. But yeah, instead of on click, we are going to say it as on click. So, and this is again called as synthetic events. Whatever you are trying to do it, no, that is called as synthetic events. But synthetic events are nothing but React JS events, which are going to convert it over. Okay.